Stepping back from this, let's ask former special counsel to President Bill Clinton, Lanny Davis. Lanny, good to have you.
Hi, Neil.
It just adds fuel to some fire here. I know you were saying this morning, I caught your comments, I think you're on WOR, which you had referred to, Eric Holder going after our James Rosen as a co-conspirator, a politically brain-dead move. Do you think in general, a lot of the moves and a lot of the crackdowns we've seen or have echoed that, all politically brain-dead moves?
Well, if you don't mind my shameless plug of the book I just wrote called Crisis Tales.
Well, they've done none of what you suggested, by the way.
That's what my point is, besides shamelessly plugging.
No, it's a great book. It's a great book.
They have violated the fundamental rule here is that if you have bad facts, you better put them out yourself early because they're coming out anyway. In the case of a subpoena, Neil, there is no way that someone at the State Department ultimately is going to have to yield. So why fight when you know what's ultimately going to happen?
Well, in national security, is national security a viable and a valid defense? That's what they argue.
Well, it might be if they want to litigate it in the courts and lose in the court of public opinion. There's no way to win in the court of public opinion if there is really a classified document that could give up lives, methods, and techniques, of course. But if Chairman Issa looks at that document, he will say, no, I don't want that document. But they can certainly show it to him. But the ultimate fact here is I believe the Benghazi documents, the talking point versions, vindicate the White House, vindicate the words used by Susan Rice were written by the CIA. There's no dispute that spontaneous demonstration was written by the CIA, and it stayed that way in 12 versions. Why not put those out yourself rather than waiting all those months to let them dribble out?
All right. Well, the Benghazi issue notwithstanding, and all of these crises generally, it inflict the tone on the public of a tone-deaf administration, and maybe a very aloof president, and maybe for good reason. You're a lawyer and a darn good one. You know the legal reasons why a chief counsel might not tell a president the IRS is up to something or doing something. I understand all of that, but when all of these scandals begin to back up like planes at LaGuardia, it raises a question, how much didn't he know, and why didn't he know it, doesn't it?
Well, I don't think there is a legal reason not to give the president a heads up on the IRS IG report. You don't have to do any more than say, Mr. President, this is coming. If the chief of staff knows, if your counsel know, you ought to know and just have a heads up. Plausible deniability doesn't sit well with me in an administration that is supposed to be about transparency. But for crisis management purposes on this State Department issue, I, for the life of me, don't understand what they're thinking, because you can't resist a congressional subpoena unless you're willing to go to court. And the last party that went to court about being transparent was the Bush and Cheney administration. Right. The last time I looked, we were critical of them for doing that. So I think these documents help us. And if there is a legal reason, sometimes political reasons have to trump legal reasons when you're in an administration that should be about transparency, and I support President Obama. These documents help him. I think that these documents need to be put out.
Well, that's always going to be in the eye of the beholder. You're right, Lanny. But let me ask you something you raised in your book about crisis and responding to various crises. You get in front of them, and I'm wondering now if it's almost too late to get in front of them, because anything you say now will, for example, on the IRS thing or going after reporter thing, it's going to look, what did John Dean famously say, in at variance with the facts. In other words, that someone lied or misrepresented themselves. And then there's the issue of, whether people were being consistent and truthful. And now you have meetings with Eric Holder that are supposed to be off the record to presumably compound the sin now, and so news organizations ought not to meet with him. This is now PR out of control, don't you think?
Well, it has been handled well from a public relations standpoint, I agree. But what the irony here is that I think everybody's acted honorably. There's nobody that I think has lied. I think that they made mistakes relying on the CIA.
You don't know that, right?
Well,
I mean, there was a time you trusted your friend Bill Clinton that he did not have sex with that woman, and it turns out, well, he did. Now, as you said yourself, I think in an interview with our friend Don Imus, you can understand that and the reasons for that, and how many men in that similar situation would have said and done the exact same thing. But it is what it is, right?
Everybody's got over that line, but but Neil Cavuto still remembers it, so I'm not going there other than to say that we all have human weaknesses,
Absolutely.
and so did President Clinton.
Absolutely.
But the thing about
but
this...
to then posture that no one's lying here, we just don't know that, right?
Well, I don't know that, but I don't impute lying unless I know that, whereas people, for partisan reasons, are using the lie word all over the place, and they don't know that. What we do know as a fact, I only deal in facts, Neil, and so do you, is that the CIA drafted the first line of 12 versions of those talking points, and that first line said that the attack was a spontaneous demonstration inspired by Cairo. That vindicated the White House. Why did they wait so long to put those out?
But they also followed up with mentioning terror and all, and that was been part of the revival. Go ahead.
And correct. No,
right.
Sorry to interrupt you, Neil. They did delete references to the Al-Qaeda as possibly an element in those demonstrations, but the deletion was done by the CIA, and yet not putting the truth out right away allowed them to be suspected of deleting something for political reasons.
Very good point. Lanny Davis, it's always good having you. Thank you very much.
Neil. Thank you.
Lanny Davis.